Now, making a fashion statement is an understatement. Plus, not only making a fashion statement, but he always also has to make a statement in the sweet science. Coming off a loss of Rafael Relas, this has got to be the most important fight of his career. It's a virtue comeback. Jorge, I'm going to ask him what he thinks about this. Jorge, esta pelea, se puede decir uno que es el regreso al ring después de la pelea que tuviste con Rafael Relas. ¿Qué piensas ahorita y cómo te sientes?
Bueno, ahora pienso diferente. Antes tiraba pari, ahora no. Ahora, ¿cómo se llama? Ahora tengo una mentalidad otra. Ahora entreno. Y ustedes van a ver ahorita arriba del ring. Nuevo.
Well, he says that before, he thinks different now than he did before, because before it was all party, fun, and games, but now it's serious. He's going out flashy. He's going to come out flashy. Let's go back to ringside to Tom and Al.
That's serious.
Thank you, Ruben, indeed. And coming up now in the aisleway is Ramon Felix. 20-4, 17 knockouts. Incidentally, he comes from Mexicali, which is the home of Jorge Paez. I don't think it's any secret, Al Bernstein. Promoters, matchmakers would love to put Paez in with Pendleton to see if he couldn't get the IBF championship. And I don't think it's any big secret that down the line they'd like to throw Paez in with Oscar De La Hoya. And I tell you, if they put it in the Forum or wherever they put it, it would be a blockbuster.
And if that young man, Jorge Paez, could win the title from Pendleton, then that's a pretty tough task, because Freddie Pendleton, who just beat Tracy Spann to win the title, is a tough guy. But if he could win a title and get it on with De La Hoya, as you say, Tom, that fight would be extremely marketable.
That is kind of a quiet costume for Jorge.
Yes.
It is looks like silver lame, and of course it sparkles. Maybe it's a coat of mail that he got from some night of the old Crusades, but that really is quite subdued for the clown, who reportedly has never trained better or more or harder than he has for this fight. It is indeed, we can't minimize the fact that this is indeed a very important bout for him tonight, notwithstanding Ramon Felix, who has a nice record, but obviously is in against the toughest man he's been in with, namely the guy under the hood.
And how would you like to come here as Ramon Felix has for his first fight in the United States and in Las Vegas? And the guy you have to face is Paez, who not only brings ability, but as you said, all the rest that goes with it. But you make a good point. This is an almost understated expression by Paez. And maybe it does mean that he knows that at this point in his career, he's got to really get some wins, and all the rest of the flash that goes with it may not mean as much now in terms of marketability.
Well, some people will be frank to tell you that his future is behind him. Others say that he still has some great moments ahead in the squared circle. And of course, only he can answer that question. Here's the tail of the tape. Paez, 3 years older than Felix. He's barely a half-inch taller, 124 to 123, and has a 4-inch reach advantage. He's doing a little mugging in the ring for the fans here. 10-point must system here in Nevada. 3 knockdown rule is in effect. No standing 8 count. Saved by the bell only on the last round, and only the referee can stop the fight. The judges for this bout: Patricia Jarman, Bill Graham, and Dave Moretti. And in the ring, famed ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you, and welcome to the beautiful Las Vegas Hilton as we present La Explosión, a big night of action brought to you by Top Rank Incorporated and Forum Boxing Incorporated in association with the Las Vegas Hilton and Budweiser, the undisputed king of beers. At this time, we present one of our featured bouts of the evening, scheduled for 10 rounds of boxing. We present lightweights in action. At this time, I introduce to you the judges as appointed at ringside. We have Patricia Jarman, Bill Graham, and Dave Moretti. Introducing the referee in charge of this bout, Toby Gibson. All right, fans, here we go. Introducing to you first on my right. He is fighting out of the blue corner this evening. He enters the ring wearing silver trunks and fighting out of Mexicali, Baja California, Mexico. He weighed in at 137 pounds with a record of 42 wins, 5 losses, and 4 draws. He has 29 wins by way of knockout. He is the former IBF featherweight champion of the world, currently ranked the #5 IBF lightweight in the world, known as the Clown Prince of Boxing, introducing Jorge Maromero Paez. And his opponent across the ring. On my left, fighting out of the red corner in this 10-round lightweight bout, he enters the ring wearing green trunks with black trim, hailing from Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico. He weighed in at the same weight of 137 pounds. His record includes 20 wins, 4 losses, with 17 wins by way of knockout. Introducing Ramon Bombardero Felix. Once again, your referee in charge is Toby Gibson, now to give instructions.
Okay, gentlemen, I've given you both your instructions in your respective dressing room before this fight. I'm going to demand a clean fight inside. Both trunks are a good height. I'm recognizing this as a legal punch. Good luck to both of you.
Well, the referee's instructions, Toby Gibson, the man in charge in the ring, short and to the point. I knew that that costume, as quiet as it might be, was hiding something, and it turned out to be the message right there. Use condoms. And of course, socially aware, Jorge Paez, in one of his fights at the Forum, he marched into the ring and had cut across his hairdo in the back of his head, safe sex, and promptly threw about 1,000 condoms into the audience. He made everybody in the building at least a present of 1 or 2.
Well, he's clearly got a social conscience as well as making a fashion statement.
10 rounds. That's Felix in the burnished gold trunks. In the silver lame, Jorge Paez, and Felix has landed a couple of pretty solid shots. One of them might have been just located somewhere in the neighborhood of their hometowns, Mexicali, but referee Tony Gibson, not a warning to either one of the two men.
Felix and Paez have one thing in common. They've both stepped up in weight. Felix started his career as a super bantamweight, and of course we know Paez, former featherweight champion, moving up in weight as well. So we'll see how much of the power they both bring up to this weight.
I last saw Paez when he fought Rafael Ruelas at the Forum.
Great fight.
And it was a great fight. And Ruelas deserves all the credit in the world. It was the biggest fight of his young career. And in the 5th round, while Paez fired, for want of a better term, his last bolt, and he nailed Ruelas with a couple of solid shots. And to his credit, Rafael just weathered the storm, went on to post a very impressive victory. It'll be interesting now as we watch Paez to see just what kind of shape he is in and how far back he has come, and what the future might hold for the young man from Mexicali.
He did get one win against Al Castro since that bout, and that may serve to get him back into the winning form he had before. One thing Paez was doing early in this bout, Tom, and when he was at his best in the old days, he did it, and that was throw real good left hooks to the body. And he's really digging down there.
He's always had a good left hand. He's always had a good left hook. And he makes good use of it. And how about Ramon Felix? He's not backing up an inch. He's working to the body as well. And now goes upstairs with a solid combination left and right. And the blows are just a little low. And now Tony Gibson is telling him, let's get it up north of the border, lads.
One of the things that traditionally Paez has been hit with is the lead right hand. Stevie Cruz and Espinoza hit him with it in his heyday as a featherweight, and that is what Felix is finding he can land here.
Paez is 27. Interesting to think about him and his fine career. Former bantamweight champion, beat Calvin Grove for the title, fought Pernell Whitaker, and I think everybody knows what a truly great fighter Whitaker is. And of course he fought Lopez for the lightweight title, junior lightweight crown.
Good hook there toward the end of the round landed by Paez. He's really getting that left hand in.
Tell you, this has been a very busy opening round for these two men as well. None of that floating around just to see what the other guy might have or tempting the fates a little bit. These guys have been right there, nose to nose, belting away at each other. In fact, Paez may have thrown one of his better shots right at the end of the bell, although Felix doesn't look the least bit worried or troubled by the opening 3 minutes. Pretty good opening round.
Good round for Felix, Tom, because he came into this maybe not knowing whether he should be in the ring with the former champion and exactly how well he would do with it.
We're going to take a look back at some of the action in round one. Here's Paez, first of all, with that left hand of his.
Yeah, the left hand that he's been throwing, there's the hook that kind of gets in there and the uppercut, but he's been throwing a good left hook to the body and to the head. Now Felix has been, well, they've both been landing the right hand. There's Paez with the lead right. Both men have used that weapon well.
Good first round. Out they come for number 2. Touch gloves. It's scheduled for 10. They're lightweights. Jorge Paez. He's in the silver lame and the burnished gold. Ramon Felix, both from Mexicali.
And from punch stats, we get Felix landing 63% of his power shots in the first round. So clearly he was landing pretty well. Neither man landing that many jabs.
Interesting to see kind of shape Felix is in. He has put on weight. He's up to the lightweight limit in the mid-130s. Hasn't fought a lot. Twice in 92, Al. Once before that in 91. They say he's got a pretty good chin and a fair punch. His record would indicate he's got a solid punch, having knocked out 17 of the 20 wins he's had. And we shall wait and see just... but I don't think he's been in with the quality type fighter that Paez has faced.
No, goodness. Remember when Paez was featherweight champ? He defended his title once 8 times in 15 months against the likes of Espinoza and Stevie Cruz and boxers and Troy Dorsey boxers, really good boxers.
Strout taking a hand, doing a little refereeing, and now we've got a cut. And probably, Tony Gibson says get on with it. Paez has got a big cut over his right eye. Do you think it was a headbutt, Al?
He thinks it was, and while he was complaining and there again, the head of Felix bangs the eye. Now, if Toby Gibson does not rule that a clash of heads, then Paez could be in huge trouble here.
Indeed.
If he did, of course, it'd be a different story. They'd have to go to the scorecards after 3 rounds.
The whole thing came about, it seemed, after what looked like a very low blow thrown by Felix. And while Paez was kind of looking over at the referee, why, boom, a gush of blood from the eyebrow just over the right eye. He again looked over at Gibson to say, didn't you see the headbutt? And with that, Felix nailed him again.
We'll have to see again if Toby Gibson does. He didn't give the ruling right at that moment that it was a clash of heads. And it was hard to see. We may see it. You may be able to see it in slow motion if we have a chance at some point. But when the action was going on, it was very difficult to tell if that was a clash of heads.
Well, it truly is an important cut, no question about it. A lot of blood flowing from it. And of course, it is, from what we can see, right up above or in the corner of the right eye. And it obviously is going to impair the vision, at least from what we can see, of Ramon Paez. He's coming right after him.
And Paez has to really go after him, try and knock him out. And of course, in between rounds, we get a good reading as to whether they will even let the fight continue.
That's the end of round number 2, and a spirited one it's been. We're going to follow Ramon back to his corner, the right eye, and it's in the corner of the right eye, as I see it, Al Bernstein, up in the eyebrow.
And a fine cut man, Chuck Bodak, in the corner, so he will do as good a job as he can do on that cut.
Here's, first of all, watch Felix for that shot right there. That's on the hip. That'd be a hip pointer if we were playing football. There's another one that's somewhere south of the hip.
And I think that you see the blood starting. That clash of heads just before that. There it is.
Right there.
Yeah, that's it.
And you can see Ramon, the blood will suddenly start, and here's another look at it. That's awfully nice camera work, gentlemen. Thank you.
Go, Julie.
I tell you, Felix looks pretty serious about this whole thing. Now that's just below the eyebrow, the right eye. They've got it closed, at least for the moment. We'll see how how effective the work of the cornermen have been.
And all of a sudden, Ramon Felix now going to the jab, staying on the outside, seeing if he can jab his way to a victory by opening up that cut again.
We'd like to remind all of our viewers across the country that we have a very fine card for you tonight, and if indeed the bouts go as scheduled, we'll be on the air till 12:30 Eastern time, bringing you the fights here from Hilton Center, Las Vegas Hilton Hotel, where the weather, I don't mind telling you, was just beautiful today. And for those of you back east, we sympathize with you.
Yeah, there are the percentages from the through the first 2 rounds, and you can see it's a pretty even fight. Yeah, if we stay up late, we'll make it a pajama party. You can all order a pizza and make some prank phone calls and hang out.
That's right. Oh, nice left hook thrown by Paez, and Felix comes back with a rash of punches.
This is a very even match in terms of what each man is doing in there, and the cut notwithstanding, Paez is finding that Felix is not as easy a target as he'd like, and that Felix is a good counterpuncher.
Oh, nice combination in close by Paez, and Felix kind of quivered for a moment there.
I think that hook got to Felix a little bit.
Neither man has been down, but in the second round, a headbutt, for want of a more definitive explanation, opened to cut, corner of the right eye of Paez. Oh, boy, he hit Felix a shot below the belt line.
This is as good a left hook, and I think that you did the fight he did with Ruelas. I saw it on television. This is as good a left hook as I've seen from Paez in his last 4 or 5 fights, though.
It is indeed.
Nice right hand by Felix that knocked a little blood away from the left eye, but so far the cut is not doing too badly.
Great left hand by Paez, first to the body, and then he brought it right upstairs. A double hook. Paez in the silver lame, in case you've just joined us, with the social statement cut into his hairdo. Now the blood flowing now copiously. Oh, a couple of shots that are really low in there, Al, and Gibson has not done the thing about it.
Well, you know, he made it a point to say that where the trunks were, especially since Paez's trunks are high, he would allow that on the borderline of the trunks. There might have been a few that have been below that. Both men are going to the body a lot, too.
This is round number 3. It's scheduled for 10 lightweights. Paez, a former champion, campaigning as a lightweight. He's been in against Whitaker, been in against Lopez. We're in his corner as we watch Chuck Bodak.
Are you supposed to be in the corner here? What is your name? He's the manager. He's the manager, but he's not listed on the field over here. He should be down there. He's the manager.
Some discussion about everybody in the corner.
No te talles, no te talles. Él te está curando no te talles porque te está tumbando lo que está poniendo Chuck.
Not exactly a clinic and clean fighting. Everything's getting thrown. There's heads, elbows. It's very rough in there. And you see there Felix using his head a little bit as he kind of sideways came in against Paez.
Well, it could be. They're from opposite sides of Mexicali. And,
yeah, this could be a neighborhood war.
Indeed.
We don't know about it.
All right, out they come for round number 4. Neither man has been down. The only evidence of how tough this fight has been is that cut in the corner of the right eye of Jorge Paez.
In that Ruelas fight, Paez claimed he injured his right hand in the second round and couldn't use it. We haven't really seen him use the right too much in this one either, Tom.
Backing up, he slipped a couple of punches but couldn't get away from all of them, and now goes into a little routine.
He backed Felix up just by doing that.
That's right.
I don't understand that. I would think if he walks in with his hands low, you'd want to come after him and hit him.
You'd certainly think it was an invitation too nice to pass up. There he is again.
Paez is probably the only boxer on earth with a cut right eye who would walk in with his hands at his waist trying to intimidate you.
And he doesn't come by that nickname, the Clown Prince of Boxing, just accidentally. His family owns a circus, you know, in Mexico.
And he was a circus performer, was
indeed.
he not?
And he's a magnificent gymnast, a tumbler. he's a skilled athlete. I mean, the man has great athletic skills. He sometimes will turn his most rabid fans off with antics like we've seen here in the ring.
And he just hurt Felix with the right hand.
Yes,
so
he did.
Any question about the right hand being healthy, he's answered it. And he's starting, I think, to hurt Felix with some of the power shots he's throwing.
He just nailed him with another left hand and backed him up, and now there's a left, and he's almost with the hands down, Al Bernstein, and bobbing and weaving, treating Felix with a little disdain, as if you can't hurt me.
Isn't it ironic he's been more effective that way than when he fought in a conventional way in the first couple of rounds? Felix did not come here to just be an opponent. He has really taken the fight to Paez, but Paez's power now is taking control.
He is scoring repeatedly, and the only thing that solid right thrown by Paez, and there's a good uppercut with the left. And he goes into that semi-bolo shot that the great kid Gavilan. Whoops, dated yourself, Al. When I said Gavilan, you nodded up.
I know. Well, my dad told me about him.
I'm sure. Your dad was a big fight fan of the great Cuban.
When he started that bolo, Paez, he had his head on the back of Felix's head, and he literally stopped throwing the punch when Toby Gibson gave him a verbal warning. No, you can't do that.
Yeah. Felix looks like his face is suddenly quite crimson, bleeding from the nose, fighting back, and Paez in a flurry of punches. We've got a great card for you tonight. Heavyweights, of course, the unification light flyweight title bout. The Golden Boy. There's the bell. That's the end of round 4. Quite possibly the best for Paez. And there's Jorge Gonzalez, the Cuban expatriate. Giant of a man at 6'6", and yet he gives away about 30 pounds and 4 inches to the guy he's fighting, Mike White.
Yeah, very well. He's fired up for this fight, Jorge Gonzalez, and he better be, because you know what? A lot of his performances as a pro have left something to be desired, and people are looking for more from him.
Let me tell you that Jorge Paez, for all of the blood from the right eye and everything else, solid left and an overhand right. And as the two fighters sit in their respective corners, why Paez looks less used than does Ramon Felix.
Yeah, despite the cut. And I think that what they're realizing now is that Paez's power is starting to have an impact. And this man, Ramon Felix, is getting hit with shots that are shaking him. And he's also not getting the lead right hand in, Felix, as much as he was earlier.
Paez and Felix thought they'd come for round number 5. They're lightweights, and it's scheduled for 10. I'm Tom Kelly, boxing's premier ringside analyst. Al Bernstein is with us, and of course, the irrepressible one, former great fighter in his own right, Ruben Castillo. We'll be hearing from Ruben as things go along. Well, 63% of the punches thrown by Paez are landing, while Felix is throwing more. He's landing fewer, Al.
That was in round 4, in which, as we said, it was Paez's best round of the fight, and the punch numbers would indicate that.
Blood continues to trickle down along the right cheek of Jorge Paez. In the second round, conceivably a headbutt, responsible for opening a cut over the right eye and the corner of the eye.
We have to give
his corner's done a nice job, but it does continue to bleed.
I was going to say Chuck Wodak has really done well with it. They've at least kept the bleeding to a minimum.
In the meantime, Ramon Felix, pretty good uppercut by Paez. Now there's really a lot of blood flowing from him as he hangs his jaw out there and bobs and weaves and slips punches and now mugs for the crowd a little bit.
I think Paez is one of those guys that when he tries to be too serious, it's really going to throw him off. Literally, I think that's so much a part of his demeanor in the ring that when he does it, that's like some calisthenics.
He's doing his act and checking with the crowd to make sure they like it. I tell you, he's box office, make no mistake about it.
You know, as Toby Gibson walked by us before he said, I'm doing the Paez fight and I'm doing the 2 heavyweights, and he had kind of a grimace on his face. I was like, yeah, you did not draw the 2 easiest assignments tonight here, Toby.
Paez has got a very good left hand, and he has nailed Felix with several solid shots.
I'm sure watching this bout, Freddie Pendleton, the man who beat Tracy Spann to win the IBF lightweight title, and much has been made about the possibility of Paez fighting him, and I think that's a match they're going to really try hard to make if Paez should win here tonight. And it would be a very entertaining and interesting matchup.
It would indeed. Paez, who has not always been the most dedicated of fighters, he has certainly been in against some of the best in the world in his weight, featherweight, junior lightweight, now as a lightweight. Sometimes he has approached his training regimen with a lackadaisical attitude. Maybe because his skills are considerable, and sometimes it's, you know, maybe even Sinatra occasionally didn't warble and warm up too much before he went on, as brilliant a talent as he had.
I guess when you're natural at something, sometimes the temptation is not to work as hard as you might. Well, I'll tell you, that cut is not bleeding at all, and it just got hit with a left hook by Felix, and it still isn't bleeding. You know, the thing about Paez that's interesting, when he was champion, he fought everybody in his division. The Espinosas, Troy Dorsey, Lupe Gutierrez, Calvin Goy. He fought some very tough guys, and you got to give him credit for that. And that's what Ramon Felix, as you look at him, is facing tonight, a very experienced fighter.
He hit Troy Dorsey with everything but the ring post, if I remember the fight correctly, and couldn't beat Dorsey. But, I mean, he just was all over Dorsey like what on rice. Now he's back into the corner with Paez. Take another look at Jorge the Clown, the Entertainer. But admire, if you will, also the skill and the ease with which he slips punches, hands at his side, and then comes with a left hand that scores. And now mugging for the crowd. I think it must be noted too, Al Bernstein, that Felix, boxers don't like to be put to that kind of an exhibition. But I tell you, he can hit and he can fight.
And there was the left hook that we talked about, that it's been such a good weapon for him tonight.
They come out for round number 6. Are you at all surprised that Felix is still out here for the 6th round?
Well, you know, only in the sense that he came out here fighting. He stood toe-to-toe with Paez, and Paez has shook him 3 or 4 times. Now, there's the lead right by Felix. Now, Paez has switched to lefty, and Tom, I'm not so sure that's the best move, because it may open up that lead right a little bit more for Felix.
And, of course, if Felix has got any kind of a left hook, it's not a bad weapon to use against a southpaw. And, of course, that right eye is an inviting target. And now he goes back to fighting in an orthodox manner. Paez, that is.
Now, Felix has put more on his punches here in round 6. For a while there, he really didn't have a lot of power on him.
We've been told that referee Tony Gibson told Paez in the corner, no more clowning around. You're here to fight. We'll put you in the lounge act if we want you to do a number out there.
I'm going to make him a backup singer for me if he keeps that up.
Blood coming from the corner of the eye again. It happened back in the 2nd round, but aside from being an obvious irritant, it has not affected Paez's performance. We're in round number 6. It's scheduled for 10. Heavyweights Jorge Gonzalez and Mike White. We've got the Golden Boy, Barcelona by way of East LA. Oscar De La Hoya against the other brother, Jeff. And of course the unification bout Carbajal against Gonzalez. What a night of boxing we have for you. Hope you're enjoying it wherever you might be.
Ramon Felix on the inside has been somewhat effective against Paez, but not in the last couple of rounds. And the interesting thing is that the weapons that were working for Felix early in the bout, Paez has pretty much nullified the last several rounds.
Felix seems to be the busier of the 2 men out there, and just with that, why Paez throws a short flurry of punches. Not too effective, but he's got Felix running down the ropes, and now Felix is... And now Gibson cautions Felix about, come on and fight. This is not the 6-day bike race.
But you know what, honestly, I don't know why a fighter shouldn't be able to do that for 15 seconds if he feels like it.
Exactly.
That might be a ploy on his part. I mean, he hasn't been running from Paez.
No.
So, I mean, you know, everybody has their strategies. If the guy did that for 3 rounds, I could see it. Boy, Toby's a killjoy tonight. Doesn't want clowning, doesn't want running. Does he want boxing?
These 2 guys going to the body here. Some
Second warning.
big
Look at
left
me.
hands,
Keep
and
him
now
up.
Gibson
Arriba.
gives him a warning. It says it's number 2, Ramon. Keep him up. Solid combination by Paez. There's the bell. That's the end of round number 6. Pretty good round for Felix, but I think Paez carried that one. All right, Ruben Castillo is here, there, and everywhere. The ubiquitous one is in the stands with a couple of boxing fans. Ruben, where are you?
Okay, thank you, Tommy. Now, here we are with a lot of fight fans. They're enjoying the fight. Tell me, who do you like? What's going on here? Who do you like in this fight?
Little hands of stone, Michael Carvajal.
They're all Carvajal fans, but they are enjoying the Paez fans. Let's go back to ringside to Tom Kelly.
Okay, Ruben.
I love this. Ruben's everywhere.
That's right. All right, we've got Felix. Back to the corner with Paez. They continue to work on the cut on the right eye. Felix unmarked.
Let's go, Julie. Come on, corner, let's go.
Puffiness, of course, both cheekbones, but Paez bears the same badges of honor. Round number 7.
The interesting thing about the last round is at the very end, Paez landed a solid left hook, and the kind that were hurting Felix before. And ironically, Felix didn't look stunned at all by it. And of course, Paez is not a huge puncher. Even in the featherweight division when he was down there, it wasn't that he had a great punch. It was just he was always so busy.
Paez in the silver lame and in the gold trimmed in black Ramon Felix. Felix has been warned about low blows on 2 occasions by referee Tony Gibson. They were kind of a common, Toby Gibson. They were kind of a commonplace thing early in the fight, both men taking liberties with the belt line.
And boy, Tom, where is the right hand from Felix that was landing so well in the first couple of rounds? He just has not been able to get that in the last few rounds, and really not throwing it.
Jorge Paez, as Felix throws punches in vain, kind of picking him off as he walks in, popping him with that left hand, moving him around. Again, the blood flows from the corner of the right eye of Paez.
And you know, that cut came, as we chronicled early in the bout, from a clash of heads, but it was not called that. So the danger here, and it still is a danger for Paez, if that cut would get really, really, really bad, and it was stopped, he would lose this fight.
Continues to bleed rather profusely now all of a sudden. Down across the cheekbone and down the right cheek, right side of his face. To bring up an interesting point, flurry of punches by Paez. As Felix, a very willing competitor, is coming right after him, but Paez is just belting him with just about everything, and now slip punches and bounces back and forth, and almost looked as though he had Felix like he was caught in a turnstile or a revolving door.
I'll tell you, Paez is a tough guy. It always has been, but he has put on some exhibitions here of defense that are quite intriguing.
Indeed.
Actually, that was one of the impressive parts of Rafael Ruelas' performance against him. He was really able to hit Paez more than most people.
And totally focused.
Yeah.
None of the things that Paez did were distracting at all to Ruelas, except in the 5th round. Paez nailed him with 2 or 3 solid punches, the best of the fight that Jorge could muster. And Ruelas totally focused. He's a talented young. He said, Toby Gibson is bringing...
Let's go with some tape. Let's go.
Coming over, the tape is loose off the glove. They're going to retape that.
That's why you're on the camera.
And there's just a couple of ticks on the clock left. There's a good look at the eye, which has slowed now. Bleeding pretty good. Flurry of punches after the bell. And Ramon Felix doing a little impromptu charging of the bull there. Ruben Castillo is in the locker room now talking with the giant, and I mean the giant. 6'10½", Mike White. Ruben?
Okay, thank you, Tom. Mike, you're about to go on in about 10 minutes, maybe. Tell me, this has got to be tough for you, and you've got to be feeling some butterflies. What are you feeling?
I feel great. I'm here to win. That's whatever it takes, whatever it calls for. It's no problem. Is it tough? No, it's not tough.
Have you fought
Looking
anybody?
forward to it. I wish I was fighting right now.
Have you fought anybody as big as Jorge?
No, I haven't.
It's going to be interesting. Back to you, Tom, at ringside.
We might add, Ruben, that Jorge hasn't fought anybody as big as Mike White either.
Oh.
At 6'10 and a half.
They are, in fact, this is the tallest matchup ever in the heavyweight division, combining the two men. And this being college basketball's tournament time, these two guys could probably play center and tall forward.
There's the punch stats.
There's the punch stats. And the interesting thing there is the 59% Paez is landing, which of course is terrific. As most of you know that have seen the punch numbers, anything around 50% is terrific.
Al, you brought up a point maybe we could take a step further a moment ago when you talked about Paez is not really a big puncher. He's a good puncher, and he has scored 29 knockouts out of his 42 wins. But I think it's attrition. There's the mouthpiece knocked out.
And your point gets proven here, Tom, because all the punches he's landed are starting to have an effect on Felix.
Indeed. Now Toby Gibson is they'll rinse off the mouthpiece, and that gives both men a respite, although it is Felix who will benefit from the delay. But it is...
and also he's accurate. You know, I mean, Paez landed 37 of 55 punches in the last round. So when he throws, he's going to land a lot of shots against you.
You can see the blood down the cheek, right side of the face of Jorge Paez, and he comes out and touches gloves now again with Ramon Felix. We're in the 8th round. Neither man has been down. The cut over the eye that has caused that item of concern to Paez occurred back in the 2nd round from a headbutt. Again, a flurry of punches by Paez. And the #1 item is that left hand. And he pointed to Felix as if to say to Gibson, the referee, this guy's taking too much punishment. And I tell you, Felix is in trouble.
Well, I think he is in some trouble, but I don't think that he's in danger of being stopped at this moment. Though certainly Paez has him stunned.
Yes, he does. And Felix comes back with a left, paws with a left, throws out a weak right. Paez lands a left and a right, solid shots, and he says to the crowd as he threatened the bolo shot. Oh, he nailed Felix. 2 solid shots there, Al, and a left hand. Felix is in trouble, and Paez says, don't you know he's hurt to Gibson? Don't you want to stop this? And there it is. So he stopped it himself. Now, some people might think on the part of Paez that showboating. It isn't. I don't think I've ever known a fighter that was in it with him that thought he deliberately was going to hurt him beyond winning the fight. You know what I mean now, what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, actually, and Paez had an instance in a fight recently where he felt like he hurt a fighter more than he had to and was very distressed. Yeah. So you're right. While he is, a character in the ring, and while he's very flamboyant, that was not his intention there.
Indeed. And there he is with a backflip. I told you he was a tumbler and a gymnast, and of course worked in the family circuit. The time on that will be 2 minutes and 3 seconds of the 8th round. Here's another look at it. And I merely pointed up Paez pointing to the referee. This guy is in trouble because he is that type of guy. He wants to win, and if it means knocking you out to do it, he will. But he would just as soon have a fight stopped rather than put somebody through that one extra punch. That could be that debilitating.
And Toby Gibson did the right thing in not counting over Felix. He knew at that moment that the fight was over.
Indeed. And Felix did too.
Yeah, and even though he's still on the ground now, Felix is responding to questions that they're asking him, and there they get him up. So we presume he's going to be okay.
Well, in point of fact, I thought it was a pretty good showing by Felix, Al. He started quickly. He gave the winner, Paez, all he could handle for the first 3 or 4 rounds. And then Paez just overpowered him. His shots more effective, despite being cut above the eye. Look at that, the final totals. Felix threw a lot of punches, but the percentage landing was half of that.
But it shows you that Felix was in the fight. A 50-some punch difference over 6 rounds is not that huge.
Paez, always the clown. Here's Jimmy Lennon. He'll give us the official time. Just over 2 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the time of 2 minutes, 3 seconds. In round number 8, the referee in charge, Toby Gibson, stops the contest. The winner by way of technical knockout, Jorge Maromero Paez.
Well, that is the 43rd victory and the 30th KO in the career of Maromero Paez, and we've talked about it earlier. Is indeed Freddie Pendleton next? Can they make that bout? And if Paez should, by some outstanding effort, take Pendleton's title away, he and De La Hoya, that would be some bout.
It really would, and of course the Pendleton bout will be enough of a challenge for him, and I watched Pendleton beat Tracy Spann to win the IBF title. He is a very talented fighter, and I think he and Paez would make a very good matchup. And a good performance by Paez, because the guy who was in there against him tonight, though not well known, clearly is a decent fighter who made a good effort. He didn't come here just to survive.
So Maromero goes down the steps and back to his dressing room, a winner and a crowd pleaser in the victory.